In this tutorial, we're going to discuss the supplies you need and the technique to use to place a bandage on the leg of your dog or cat. If your pet has injured herself, you want to gather up all the supplies you're going to need for this bandage. And so those are going to include some cast padding, some soft rolled cast padding. You're going to want to use some porous tape, so something that is breathable, but you can tear. This is what we call vet wrap or bandage wrap. It's going to be an elastic, self-adhesive. And then what we call cling wrap that's a little bit see-through. And then a nice popsicle stick or tongue depressor, and we'll show you what that's important for. Now you're going to want to start with that porous tape, and you're going to start to pull some pretty long strips of it. They should be about twice the length of the leg that you're going to bandage. Now, unless your pet is really well behaved, like our stuffed animal here, it's going to be really helpful to have an assistant, somebody to help you to kind of keep the pet calm and to keep that leg stable. So you're going to get your porous tape, pull out nice long strips, and you're going to apply those to either side of the pet's leg that you're going to bandage. So you want to be careful if there's an injury like a sprain, but you're going to want to get those strips and pull them. And this is where the popsicle stick comes in. You're going to use that to apply the sticky side of the tape to the popsicle stick. And we'll show you a little bit later in this video why that becomes important. So you've got the first side applied, and now you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side of the leg, so the underside. So once you get that long strip of tape, you're going to apply that sticky side up now to the underside of the dog, in this case, in the dog's leg. And then again, adhere that to your tongue depressor or popsicle stick. Now, once you have those tape stirrups secured, you may want your assistant to come around to the other side and hold the limb up by that popsicle stick tape stirrup, as it may help with the bandaging. For this layer, you're going to use the soft roll of cast padding. And when you apply this, this is going to be the holding layer and really the comfortable layer for your pet. And so you want to roll it away from the roll. That'll make it easier to apply, starting at the toes. And then you're going to work your way up the limb, getting about 50% coverage with each layer you wrap around. Now you want to pull this layer fairly snug, and the good news is the way this material is designed, you really can't pull it too tight. If you are going to pull it too tight, well, it'll tear. And it's not a big deal if you do tear it. What you can do is you go, oops, and then you just start it back again. You don't have to start over. You just kind of continue where you were with that torn piece. So it's designed to really not be able to be pulled too tight. So you continue your bandage up the leg, and then usually you'll come back down and until you have a nice, comfortable layer over your pet's leg. As you're applying this bandage, you want to check to make sure at all times you can see the toes out the end of the bandage to make sure that we haven't pulled it too tight. So once your cast padding layer is done, we can go ahead and move on to the next layer, which is that roll of cling. So this is that gauzy roll of material. Now, again, you're going to start at the toes and work your way up. The important part to remember with this layer is that you absolutely can pull this layer too tight. So as you're applying it, you want to constantly check that you're just laying it gently over it. You don't want to pull tight enough that you can see kind of a puckering of the bottom layer of that cast padding. So if you can see that kind of bulging out, it's too tight. You need to loosen it and rewrap it. And once you're done with the gauze layer, you can trim the excess, and then you can get ready for your last layer. Now, the next layer is going to be your vet wrap, and we're going to kind of go through this in more detail in a second. But this is where that popsicle stick and those original tape stirrups that you have applied come into place. So before we do our last layer, we want to undo those tape strips. So you're going to pull them away from the popsicle stick. The popsicle stick was really just to make it easier to pull that tape away from itself. So completely disconnect those, twist it around on itself, so now the sticky side is facing down on the bandage. And what this is going to do is going to help keep that bandage from slipping down the leg as your pet moves around. So that's going to be really helpful for trying to keep this bandage where we want it. So now that we have our tape stirrups securely in place, we're getting ready to place our final layer. And so this layer is another one that can be pulled too tight. So you want to be really careful that as you unroll it, you don't keep any tension on it. So you want to make sure you unroll it and then very carefully relax it. So this layer, again, you're going to start at the toes and work your way up the leg, and you're going to pull that tape out and then very carefully make sure you let all of the tension out of it before laying it gently on top of the previous layer. So as you finish up and get this last layer in place, you can cut off the last layer of this wrap, and then now your pet is a little bit more stable, maybe a little bit more comfortable until you can get her to your veterinarian.